everyone. Welcome back to Information Economics. Today we're going to talk about one paper that is a direct application of those continuous type problems we mentioned in the last week. Okay, so I'm going to start. The paper we're going to talk about is nonlinear pricing for information goods. This paper was written by Professor Arun Sundararajan. He is a professor in the NYU Business School, one of the best business school in the world. And this paper was published in Management Science in 2004. Okay, actually, this professor, in some sense, got tenure because of writing this paper, one of the most influential paper about information goods pricing. Okay, so it's worth reading. So if you have no question, I'm going to start. Okay, so before everything, let's review what we have done for monopoly pricing or actually for physical goods. Okay, because today we want to talk about information goods. And so before that, let's review what we have done for physical goods. One thing we know is that we are able to find the optimal pricing plan for in a monopoly pricing case, right? We have the optimal QT pair. Q for quantity, T for transfers or prices. With that, we are able to write down a function of prices as a function of quantity, right? If you want one unit, how much you want to pay? If you want 2 units, how much you need to pay? We can write T actually as a function of Q. That's something we can do. We know the optimal pricing scheme or that function we just described is nonlinear. You shouldn't restrict yourself to some kind of linear price or wholesale price, right? If you only use a wholesale price contract, that's going to be suboptimal. And in fact, the true pricing plan, if you go back to check your notes, is something nonlinear. That's one thing. Another thing is that we are actually doing a second-degree price discrimination based on quantity. Okay, so let me introduce to you the idea of price discrimination. We mentioned to you one thing about why information asymmetry is a problem here. It's because of that, as a seller, you cannot see the valuation of consumers. If you can see how much they want to pay for each unit of product, you're going to charge them according to their valuation. Okay, you're going to set different prices for different consumers according to their valuation. If that's possible, we say you are doing a first-degree price discrimination. Okay, price discrimination somehow just means making prices different. Okay, so if that's possible, that's certainly good. But you know, typically that's impossible because valuations are hidden to you. So you cannot have the first best, so you take the second best. The second best is something we did. Okay, you discriminate or you differentiate consumers by sending them different quantities. Okay, you differentiate consumers according to how much they want. Okay, and actually that's something that reflects how they like their products, right? Because when theta is some kind of valuation, when theta is higher, a high-type consumer prefers a higher quantity or a higher consumption. Okay, so according to the quantity they want, you can differentiate consumers. That's called second-degree price discrimination. Okay, something we did for monopoly pricing for physical goods. If that's also impossible, okay, that's in some situations that's also impossible. For example, if you are selling a musical ticket or a movie ticket, okay, or anything, or airline tickets, for those products, no one wants to buy more than one, right? So if you cannot differentiate consumers according to quantities, then what you can do is to differentiate them according to some attributes. For example, age, profession, or location, where do they live, okay? Or even what's the computer or operating systems they are using to connect to your website. Okay, in that case, we say we are doing a third-degree price discrimination. Anyway, yeah, this is just a part introduction. Anyway, when we are doing monopoly pricing for physical goods, we know the best thing to do is to do a second-degree price discrimination. Okay, you sell different consumers, different quantities, and charge them according to how much they eat or how much they use. Okay, so we say this is a usage-based pricing plans or schedules. Okay, yeah, natural. But something that is different is that in practice, you know, sometimes things are different for especially information goods. In particular, for information goods, we see a lot of cases with fixed fee pricing. So what does that mean? There are some products. You pay a certain amount of fees or price. Okay, you pay a fixed price. And then within a region, within a time period, you are allowed to enjoy the quantity you want. Okay, you are buying some kind of all-you-can-eat options. So examples excluding, for example, the data plan for 3G networks. Okay, you may buy, you may pay according to the amount you use. I mean upfront. Or in practice, you are allowed to choose the all-you-can-eat data plan with a higher price. Or you may subscribe to Wall Street Journal or to KKBox to download or to read news articles or listen to MP3s. Okay? If you do so by paying a monthly subscription fee, then you have unlimited access to those news articles or MP3 online. Yeah. So these are examples for you to have fixed fee pricing plans for information goods. And that's not so common for physical goods, right? Typically, no store will offer you an option that, okay, if you pay me $10,000, then you are allowed to come to my convenience store, no matter how many times, no matter when, or no matter how much quantity you want to buy. Yeah, that's typically not the case. Sometimes you see situations like, for example, those all-you-can-eat plans in restaurant. Yeah, that's for physical goods. But that's not so common for physical goods, right? So you are asking why there is such a difference. Why we commonly see fixed fee pricing for information goods, but not so common for physical goods. Okay, that's the motivation for this paper. We want to ask, what's the best way to price information goods? Is it really true that fixed fee pricing is optimal for information goods, or we are just misleading ourselves by using a wrong pricing plan? Okay, so that's the typical case when we are asking these kind of research questions. We observe some practice, for example, this one, or we observe some differences for different kinds of industry or products. For example, fixed fee pricing for information goods, but not for physical goods. And then we ask why this is the case. Okay, why this works, or actually it shouldn't. That's our question. Okay, yeah. So with that, we're going to study pricing for information goods. So before we start, we need to somehow tell you what's the difference or what's special for information goods. Okay, information goods have a lot of special properties, but at least we agree for the following two, and that's something discussed in this paper. The first thing is the most obvious. It costs almost nothing to reproduce information goods. production cost also a variable. Okay, designing or developing an information good is costly, but reproducing them is easy. And second, there is something that does not appear so common for physical goods. Okay, we say it's relatively hard, or the cost for administrating usage is relatively high, okay, compared to your production cost. So what does that mean? When you allow people to use information goods, or if you want to charge them according to how much they eat, and how much they use, then you need to somehow administrate how much they use. Okay? Probably you want to ask why this is the case, why this is hard, okay? Why do we have cost? Because it seems to be easy to track how many articles you read on Wall Street Journal, or how much you listen on KKBox, okay? So that may be true, but in fact, administration costs are more than that. For example, you have the following things. Okay, you need to monitor how much they consume. That's something. You need to provide a very long bill to them regarding, for example, when did they make a call, when did they get online with how much they downloaded. Okay, billing is a problem. You need to find a way to receive payments, and typically that's harder because it's easier for consumers to accept automatic transfers if they are paying a monthly fee, okay, instead of something based on their usage. And also, you need to somehow, you are more likely to have some problems with your consumers. They may ask, they may say they didn't really use that amount as you monitor, okay? So you have all these kind of problems to handle when you want to use a usage-based pricing plans. But that's not really these kind of situations for physical goods. If you are selling coats, if you are selling apples, how much they consume or how much they took, okay, is something that is easy to monitor, and that means there is no such no much disputes you will see, okay. So for information goods, it's almost costless to produce new copies, but to monitor usage, you need to pay some cost. Okay? So with these attributes in mind, immediately you got some feelings about why people would use fixed fee pricing for information goods, right? Because production is not a problem, and I want to save some cost from monitoring them. Okay? So fixed fee pricing indeed has some benefit. But then we have a question. The question is, with fixed fee pricing, okay, we lose a probability for price discrimination. Okay, that's something that will hurt our profits because we give up monitoring them according to how much they use. We give up the chance for pricing according to usage. So we are not able to do second degree price discrimination. Okay? And when we are unable to do a price discrimination, we're going to lose some money, right? So now the question is, should we really use fixed fee pricing? Is it good or is it not so good? Is the benefit for cost saving can always compensate for the loss without a second degree price discrimination? Okay, so that's the issue. Okay, so starting from the next video, I'm going to introduce the model and try to find the optimal way for pricing information goods. And then we will be able to answer these questions. Thank you.